Hi, good day, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. My name is Leah Squires. In today's episode, we'll be interviewing medical student. We'll be exploring some of the pros and cons of being a student in a foreign country. Hi. Hi, Nicholas. Welcome to Let's Talk. How are you doing?
Hey, glad to be here. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Well, today we just wanted to explore some of the pros and cons of you being a student in another country, especially at a time like this. So, explain to us, how has it been for you? How has this journey been for you thus far?
Well, at the beginning of COVID, it's a little over 2 years now, but at the beginning of COVID, hearing that a virus was coming from China, essentially, it was a bit scary because you didn't know what to expect. Um, this was the first pandemic I have ever lived through. Thankfully, I could say lived through. I wasn't quite sure what to expect either. But as time went on, and the vaccine came about and all these measures were implemented, it felt a bit safer. Not that we totally safe or free from the virus, but you just feel more comfortable knowing that there are measures in place to protect you from the virus. But being apart from home could be hard for some. I remember I had a friend who was first flight out as soon as school. Well, when the virus came to Barbados over here, they stopped school immediately. And the first flight out, I had a friend just leave on that first flight out back to Trinidad. So it could be scary, but so far it has been okay, manageable.
And what are some of the coping mechanisms that you have put in place for yourself to be able to deal with these things?
Well, one of the coping mechanisms for sure was actually taking the vaccine because, as I was saying earlier, it offers a layer of protection for us. So that assisted in feeling more comfortable, interacting more with family, being able to have friends you could talk to in the event that you feel frightened or worried or anything like that. All those things helped in coping with the virus, the pandemic.
And how do you feel like being away from your loved ones? As you explained, how has that impacted on you? How are you able to cope with that?
Well, I've been away for quite some time prior to the pandemic starting, so it became a norm. This is my fifth year be studying away, so a bit more comfortable not being at home, but it's still worrying knowing that anything can happen to anyone at home. Recently, one of my cousins and her mother would have tested positive for the virus, and they've been doing well so far, and it just goes to show that just keep abreast of everyone and everything that's going on home.
Explain to us being a student in another country, knowing that you're away from home. How has that experience been for you? And for someone who may be interested in taking that leap?
Quite far, it's been enjoyable. I would always encourage anyone to study in another country. You tend to meet people from different islands, different countries, even internationally. You also see how strong you are as an individual because sometimes you're at home and you always have somebody to rely on. But when you're in a foreign place, sometimes by yourself, that's where you get to see how capable you are, of being able to do everything you have to do to survive.
Yeah. And how has the interaction been with other people and, culture change and all those kind of things?
When I got here, it was a different experience. Here isn't as fast-paced as Trinidad is, but that was not bad thing. It was a different experience. It was enjoyable. It still is enjoyable. You could walk to the beach from where I live, and that by itself is a refreshing experience. You know, sometimes you come home, you're tired, you just walk over to the beach and you relax. So different experiences aren't always a bad thing. The locals here are also very friendly, very kind. You could always just talk to them, and they're very receptive to non-nationals.
And like on a financial level, are you able to get a job if you desire? How has that been?
Well, I'm currently here on a student visa. So the student visa doesn't allow us to be employed up to certain hours. Don't quote me on that. But in the event that I am interested in getting a job when I'm completing my studies, that is available. You could always apply for the CARICOM visa stuff, where you can work in other Caribbean countries without getting a permit. Once you get that stamp, you could work. In the university itself, there are also job opportunities. You could work at the library, you can work at different points, you could work at the IT office as well. Because of this program I'm in, however, I wasn't able to do those things because it's a full-time program, meaning we have classes as much as every day, 8 to 4. So yeah, there are opportunities for those who may be interested in working, and even after you completed their studies, a lot of people tend to stay back, even if it's for a year or two, and get employed and then go back home.
And how has study time been? That you have long hours of classes and then you have to include your studies and stuff. How has that been?
For me, studying is all about balancing your activities. I wouldn't say I'm the best at balancing, but being involved every day at the hospital and still having to come home and study at the end, as you go on, you tend to find ways to get your studying in. So sometimes you may have a break during the day. You take the opportunity to run over some questions of something you may have studied the night before. You could also just budget at least 1 to 2 hours a day in studying, and you'll be able to successfully pass your courses.
And what is some advice you would give to someone who is looking on and is interested? What is some of the advice you would give to that person?
Some advice I would give anyone interested in studying overseas or even studying medicine is, it may be challenging at times, but just remember why you came to this country or why you started studying. That has been an incredible motivational drive in keeping me focused on what I exactly am studying. It makes me remember that the outcome that I want for my life this is just part of that journey. So in order for me to get to where I want to be, I need to go through this process, and in remembering that, it tends to push me to do the little things that I need to do to get to where I want to be.
Okay, and in terms of your family and them back home, how has that support been?
Yeah, the family support is real. My mom always calls me, sometimes almost every day if she could, just to see how I'm doing, in COVID times. She'll say, you always have to check up on your family. You never know what could happen to them.
Yeah.
And I would agree, because sometimes with this whole COVID thing, we realize that especially the elderly, they can be a bit isolated and just need someone to talk to. So just being able to reach to them and communicate with them has been a good thing for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule to have this sit down with us. And I hope you do enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to have you again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.